Okay, let's try it again. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. It's morning here. I'm drinking coffee still. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope everything finds you fantastic, and I want to get ahead of a story that is developing in the news. We've seen that Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked yesterday, attacked with a hammer by a man who they said broke into his house, a crazy person or whatever. That's the story that they're spinning, is that a crazy person broke in. But now that the whatchalls are starting to emerge, we're starting to see that maybe that wasn't the whatchacall. Maybe that wasn't the truth, right? So there's a lot of evidence coming out, and they sure don't seem to want to give up the police report either. They're being real tight-lipped about the police report. All those cops have body cams on them, dash cams, and they don't want to give up any of the footage. So we're going to look into this a little bit because we've got some funny shit being reported by Breitbart. Let's see. Unknown person let police officers into Paul Pelosi's home on night of attack. Unknown person. Right? Let's look. An unidentified person let law enforcement into Paul Pelosi's home the morning an intruder broke in and attacked Pelosi with a hammer, according to San Francisco Police Department Chief Bill Scott. Breitbart reporting. Scott explained that when law enforcement arrived at the Pelosi residence, the door was opened by someone inside, but he did not provide the identity of the person who opened the door. Here we go. Greg Price on Twitter. For people not paying attention, the story now is that a nudist in his underwear with a hammer snuck into the Pelosi residence. A wellness check sent the police there. They knocked on the door. A third person let them in, at which point the man began assaulting Paul Pelosi. This is their story right now. So, David DePape forced his way into the home through the back entrance, Scott said. Officers arrived at the house, knocked on the front door, and were led inside by an unknown person. They discovered DePape and Pelosi struggling for a hammer, and after they instructed them to drop the weapon, Scott said DePape took the hammer and violently attacked Pelosi. Why wasn't the other guy helping? Who was the other? This sounds to me like when your wife's out of town and you got some half-naked youngsters in the house that we're gonna see later. He's a youngster compared to to Paul, right? It looks like he's in his 30s or something, but we're gonna get into it some more. So when the officers arrived and knocked on the front door of the residence this morning, the door was opened by someone inside, said Scott, and the officers observed through the open door Mr. Pelosi and the suspect, Mr. DePape, inside the entryway of the home. DePape forced entry into a rear door at the back of the Pelosi's home, Scott said. The officers ordered Pelosi and DePape to drop the hammer, seemingly stood by as DePape attacked Pelosi, waiting until DePape violently assaulted Pelosi before. Yeah, that's what cops do. If you haven't noticed, they generally will let you just get the fuck beat out of you, and then okay. At this time, the officers remained outside the threshold of the home, and they observed Mr. Pelosi and Mr. DePape, each one hand on a single hammer. It was one hand that the officers observed. So both of them had a hold of the hammer. Officers, while still outside of the doorway threshold, gave commands to both men to drop the hammer. Mr. DePape immediately pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently attacked him with the hammer. The officers immediately entered, tackled the suspect, disarmed him, and took the hammer away, and the suspect, Mr. DePape, into custody. So, this is Breitbart reporting, so let's look into this guy a little more, right? Let's see. Police dispatch audio, Breitbart reporting. Paul Pelosi, when calling cops, says he doesn't know who the male is, but advised that his friend's name is David and that he is a friend. Okay, so he doesn't know who he is. There's some crazy guy who broke into my house, but his name's David and he's a friend of mine. Okay. Let's get some coffee. It's still pretty early for this. Paul Pelosi reportedly told 911 dispatch that the individual who allegedly attacked him with a hammer in his home is a friend, according to the police dispatch call early Friday morning. The alleged intruder reportedly attacked Paul Pelosi with a hammer, which forced him to undergo surgery for his injuries. Officers later identified 42-year-old Berkeley resident David DePape. Berkeley? That sounds like a Trump supporter. And that's what they're trying to pull right now. They're trying to say that this guy's like some alt-right fucking Republican racist asshole. And we're going to get to those stories too. There's some stories out already. They're trying to paint him as like some sort of Trump supporter. Whenever you see the picture of this dude, you're going to know this is not a fucking Trump supporter. When you see the picture of his house and where he was staying, you're going to see this was not a Trump supporter. This dude was a fucking nudist. This dude is a fucking nudist, leftist, fucking nutjob. Okay. Brooke Jennings from Twitter. The investigation into this horrific attack continues. We are coordinating closely with Fed and local law enforcement partners. As of now, we believe there will be enough evidence to charge multiple felonies, attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, Okay, that's fine. We will be joining SFPD chief to provide further updates and next steps. This horrific attack will not go unanswered. The investigation is ongoing. Yeah. Okay, we'll see how far it goes whenever they find out he was diddling. This is somebody that fucking Pelosi was diddling. Let's see. Emergency dispatch officials provided the police officers with an address on the 2600 blocks of Broadway, Pacific Heights. According to dispatch, call took place around 2:30 in the morning. The fuck you doing up at 2:30 in the morning, Paul? You're 80 years old with a half-naked man in your house, dog. Right? I bet you there was fucking dildos and sex toys and lube and shit just flying about. The dispatch official then said that Pelosi informed 911 that he did not know who the attacker was, but then gave his name and explained that he is a friend. Okay. Let's see. What is this? Reporting person stated that there's a male in the home and that he's going to wait for his wife. Reporting person stated that he does not know who the male is, but he is advised that his name is David and that he is a friend. Okay. One more story from Breitbart. Paul Pelosi attacker lived in Berkeley hippie commune. So now we're going to look at these. Berkeley hippie commune. And then we're going to go to what the San Francisco Examiner is saying, because they're trying to claim this dude was a Trump supporter. So, David DePape, the man accused of attacking Paul Pelosi with a hammer, lived inside a school bus. This sounds like a Trump supporter. Parked outside of his former lover's home in the weeks leading up to the attack, according to his neighbors. So, he gets around. It wouldn't, you know what I mean? I don't know if anybody else is from the Bay Area. I'm from the Bay Area. The homosexual men around there, they do their thing, man. They do their thing. They know each other. Put it that way. It's a community of men who know each other. We'll leave it at that. DePape's neighbors said he slept back and forth between a broken-down camper van and a school bus parked outside pro-nudist activist Gypsy Taub's home in Berkeley. Okay? Pro-nudist activist. An activist, okay. According to DePape's neighbors, Margarita and Julio Gonzalez, who used to live inside the house with Taub and her family before staying off and on in the buses parked outside. Here's Michael Schellenberger from Twitter. It's really weird to see that they are willing to be so aggressive towards somebody who is also a lefty. A closer look reveals the characteristics of a homeless encampment of what Europeans call an open drug scene. What the fuck does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Europeans call an open drug scene? Okay. What did black people call it? Or what did fucking Africans call it? Or, you know what I mean? What do Asians call it? Asians call it a life sentence. They call it, you're going to jail, homeboy. Okay, in the driveway, there is a broken-down camper van. On the street is a yellow school bus, which neighbors said DePape occasionally stayed in. Both are filled with garbage, typical of such structures in homeless encampments. This sounds like a Trump supporter all day. There he is. He looks like one, doesn't he? DePape, who shares 2 children with Taub, so he's not completely gay, he just gets around, was in a romantic relationship with a pro-nudist activist before she married someone else. DePape served as the best man at Taub's nude wedding, wow, which ultimately led to Taub's arrest for being naked in public. Maybe that's why he's so angry. Okay. David DePape's center records Gypsy Taub, she looks old as shit, being led away by police after her nude wedding outside City Hall on December 19th, 2013. In Frisco, DePape was known in Berkeley, California as a pro-nudity activist who had picketed naked at protests against local ordinances requiring people to be clothed in public. So this guy likes to get butt naked and run around. That looks nasty. Okay. So now we're going to go over to the San Francisco Examiner and see what they're saying. Conspiracy-filled blog bearing alleged Pelosi attacker's name pulled offline. Oh, so Mr. DePape has a blog and it's been pulled offline. I wonder why they would pull it offline. Okay. A blog bearing the name of the man who allegedly broke into House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's home and attacked her husband early Friday morning has been taken down. Well, I guess we'll never know what it said on there, huh? I guess we'll never get to know what it said. I wonder why they would take that down. If it supported their point, if it supported their point of view, you would think they would leave it up. The website was filled with racist, homophobic, sexist, and transphobic. Oh, that's crazy because, okay. He's got a fucking LGBTQ flag hanging outside of his fucking house. Let's look at this. Hold on. Where are those flags? There was a bunch of fucking LGBTQ flags and Black Lives Matter flags. No one believes this. Look at this. As I discovered yesterday, DePape lived with a notorious local nudist in Berkeley home, complete with a Black Lives Matter sign in the window and an LGBT rainbow flag emblazoned with a marijuana symbol hanging from a tree. Okay, now, website was filled with racist, homophobic, sexist, and transphobic posts that rail against the government, big tech, Hollywood feminists, and scores of other targets. Did anything about the scene right here look like he might be racist or homophobic or Islamophobic or any of that? Michael Schellenberger reporting? No. No, not at all. These people are full of shit. Okay. The San Francisco Examiner reporting. Announced Friday that officers arrested DePape, 42, after witnessing him violently assault Paul Pelosi with a hammer at the couple's Pacific Heights home. A WordPress site listing DePape included posts from as recently as August and as far back as 2007. The newer posts contained slurs targeting black, gay, and transgender people, screeds against communists, as well as misogynistic and Islamophobic stereotypes, and conspiracy theories invoking QAnon. Oh, throw QAnon in there too. He's a fucking terrorist. Let's see. The Examiner hasn't confirmed that DePape accused David DePape accused of attacking Nancy Pelosi is behind the site, which includes God is Loving in its URL. A WordPress.com spokesperson told the Examiner on Friday afternoon that they couldn't comment on details of the individual sites. Right? So these people are full of shit. Basically, they want you to know. So what they're going to do is they're going to point you to some evidence of white supremacy, which is what this is right here, but they're not going to give you the actual evidence. There is no actual evidence. They're just going to tell you that this was a Trump supporter and he did it because of racist, homophobic, sexist, transphobic. Who could be filled with that much fucking hate? Who hates everybody? Even whenever you meet like white supremacists in the joint and stuff like that, they generally don't hate everybody. They're usually like, oh yeah, those people are cool. You know what I mean? The Mexicans are cool or something like that. You know, no one fucking hates everybody. Nobody's filled with this much fucking hate. You know, and this right here, this website was filled with racist, homophobic, sexist, transphobic posts that rail against the government, big tech, Hollywood feminists, and scores of other targets, but now includes a message saying it has been archived or suspended for violating the platform's terms of service. This is just standard shit that the fucking Democrats get. This is what the Democrats think Republicans complain about. That's just a list of all the things. That's just a list of all the things that Democrats have wrong, that Democrats have a problem with, as far as the Republican ideology or the conservative ideology. So that, I don't believe it at all. There's no way that this fool ticked every fucking box. Like, there's no fucking way that I can look at where he lives and it says Black Lives Matter with a gay pride flag, and then you're going to tell me all this stuff. And this is what they're going to do. They're going to keep pushing this fucking narrative, and it's a bunch of bullshit. So don't let them do it. Don't let them do it. Anyway, that's the morning coffee on the mainstream media lying to you and why you should come to my news channel. I'll tell you the truth.